Thank you for taking out your time and joining us. And welcome to everyone else who's logged into the session. It's a long weekend, a long Christmas weekend. But thank you so much for joining us and listening into the session. Parimal, super excited. I think this is the first time that we're doing an asset of this nature, and definitely excited about the kind of partnership with a company like yours, and an entrepreneur like yours who has seen a very rich history of being in this space, and then bringing it all together into this very new company, Cherise. I'd like to kick it off by having people learn a little bit more about your personal background. If you open your LinkedIn, you see that you've had experience working across countries, including various roles in Europe, including in Russia, handling sales for organizations. And we'd love to hear from you in terms of what that was, and then go into how that all led into Cherise.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Thanks, Nikhil, for hosting me for this webinar, and thank you everyone for joining on this Saturday afternoon. I am a tea sommelier and a coffee sensory analyst by my profession. So I'm one of those few guys whose profession, vocation, and passion are all aligned. So I live tea, I love tea, and that's what I do for a living. I'm a formulator, and I'm a third generation farmer, a tea farmer. So my family, the MK Group, they are one of the very large tea farmers of our country. And I worked in the family business in MK Group for 15 years before I started Cherise. Cherise is the company which I founded in 2018-19 financial year, towards the end of this 2018-19 financial year. And the whole idea behind founding Cherise is to create an ecosystem where we are able to reach the end consumer, able to extract the available profits that this business allows, and the ability to also interact with the end consumer without having too many channels to go through. So this is the age of technology, of course, and the ways of reaching the end consumer. There are two ways mainly. One is you are either available on the point of sale, like let's say shops, supermarkets, modern trade, general trade, so on and so forth. And then there is another way of reaching the end consumer, which is being available on the points of actual consumption of beverages. So we subscribe to the latter more, and we find that if you are available, if your products are available at the points of actual consumption, then you have instant gratification, which you're able to provide to the end consumer. You have their entire attention for those few moments when they are purchasing and enjoying your beverage. You have unlimited focus on your brand, because that is your machine and you're selling your products. And the ability to be able to influence the consumer's palate. This is something which you just cannot compare when you are making your product available off the shelf on a point of sale, because from the point of sale, obviously, the consumers would buy the product, but then they would buy it and then they would enjoy it at a, let's say, later date, at a later time. And these immediate benefits which you could gather when you are attracting the consumer at the point of actual consumption would not materialize. Also, it is a far more profitable way of doing business. So that is an added motivation. About myself, I am a commerce graduate. I did my studies in Mumbai. I did my high school studies from J.D. Somani in Kafparid in Mumbai. And I did my college from the HR college in Churchgate. And in those years, also, being a Gujarati family, coming from a Gujarati family, we all joined the business very young. So I would attend our factory in Navi Mumbai, which is still there, and now it is let out. It is run by my kaka. And I would travel in those days also. From college, I would take a 138 number bus to the Sanders Road or Dockyard Road station, and then take the central line to Kodla or Dadar, and then shift to Harbour, and then go to Juinagar, and then take an auto to Nerul. In those days, the Nerul station also was not ready. So we have been in this business of tea and coffee for many years now. I trained as a tea taster in my own family business while I was in my first year, second year BCom, even third year BCom. And then after my graduation, I worked for a year in J. Thomas. I trained there. I trained under very senior tasters, uh, all stalwarts of the tea industry of India. J. Thomas is an erstwhile sterling company, which was founded by the Britishers around the 19th century, the mid 19th century. So again, a fabulous company, great legacy, and run by excellent tea experts. Now it's a very professional, very professionally managed company. And in J. Thomas, I learned the art of tea auctioning, tea tasting, different types of teas from across the country. That's how the skill was developed. So as a tea sommelier, and coming from a tea family background, the family members have to go through this basic training of understanding the product. I've also spent a fair amount of time in our company farms to understand the basics of tea farming. But my passions and my interests were always towards value addition and branding, even in those years. So after completing my training, I moved on to Europe, where I trained as a coffee sensory analyst in Hamburg, in Germany. And then I did barista training courses in Dubai, and also in Poland. I did tea sommelier courses, where you are learning how to use herbs, different types of herbs, Oriental herbs, Western herbs, and prepare different types of teas and tisanes, which are basically value-added blends. These are very popular in the Western markets. And then I was posted in the Russian wholly owned subsidiary of my family business in St. Petersburg. So I've worked there for a fair amount of time, from 2007, 8, and all the way till 2015, 16. I speak fluent Russian. It is one of the things which is very much required when you're working in that part of the world. And a fair amount of traveling on the field across Russia, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Belarus, and the erstwhile CIS states, and also the Eastern European states. So the family business, they have their wholly owned subsidiary there, and I was heading that vertical, which is involved in value adding of teas and selling brands across the country. That vertical was founded by my father, and it is still very profitable vertical for the family business. So around 2016, 17, and after having this experience, I wanted to see how we can use our skills and how we can bring Western technology to India with regards to smart vending. Because in my travels, I noted the benefits of vending. Again, as I said, the ability to be able to provide instant gratification to the consumer and to have their undivided attention. This is something which really any company or any brand would die for, would kill for, really. And that's what everyone pays for through their nose. So many companies have so much of burn on marketing spends, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to really catch hold of the consumer's attention, the end consumer's attention. But obviously that is very expensive, because there are so many layers and so many different channels which a brand has to pass through. You have the super stockists, then the distributors, then the modern trade, the general trade, then you have the retail counters, and then comes the end consumer. So when any brand, any product passes through so many channels, whether it's in India or abroad, of course, the majority chunk of the profitability is shared with the supply chain. Hence, the manufacturer seldom ends up with a good margin. And that's what happens. And this is also one of the reasons why it is very difficult today, even in our country, in India, where there is so much entrepreneurial growth. Even in India, it is very difficult for new brands to run a profitable business, because the supply chain is very expensive. The logistics are very expensive. Creating a brand in today's day and age, it's a very expensive and a very cash burn exercise. And well, again, coming from a traditional Gujarati background, I don't understand these concepts of burn and runways. For me, if I do a profit, if I do a business, I need to make a profit out of it. That is how I've been trained by my grandfather, my dad, my kaka. So that was always and still remains one of the very important fundamental, foundation block of our organization, Cherise. Cherise, I founded in 2018-19 with this sole aim of being able to reach the end consumer, again through technology, where I don't need to go through all these different channels, which traditionally a brand would compulsorily have to go through to reach the end consumer. So this is the age of technology. This is the age of IoT. It is the age of machine learning, neuro-linguistic programming, artificial intelligence, and things now, everything is now available in India. You have the best technology brains available. You have the best coders. You have the best embedded technology specialists in India. Around 7 to 8 or 10 years ago, the concept of IoT in India was at a very nascent stage. People would not really understand what IoT is. Even in today's day and age, traditional IoT is simply limited to tracking, but IoT is not just limited to tracking something. Real IoT is how you control those devices.
If I can just interrupt you here,
Yes.
For people joining in and thinking they're going to have a session on business around tea, to have a deep dive on IoT and technology, let's just connect the dots for a minute, right?
Of course.
And I think that's the most interesting part of it, even from a leasing perspective, and we'll get to it towards the end of the session. But if I was to ask you a fundamental question, do you see Cherise as a tea company or as a vending company, right? Or the intersection of the two? How do you see those? And then, I'll add another question, because you said a very interesting point on reaching out to the customer. You've chosen to reach the customer by bringing your tea and beverages to the end customer through a vending machine, right? Through an IoT-enabled vending machine. And there could have been other touch points to do it or other ways to do it. What was it as an insight that made you choose vending machines and, for example, not a cafe as a way of doing it, or a D2C brand selling tea bags or tea powder online, right? If you could just talk a little bit about how you see Cherise as a company and what led to the decision on vending machines.
Right. So, I could just sum up this answer with one word, and that word is ecosystem. If I were to put it in a very crude way, during my grandfather's time, it was the manufacturer who was really the king of the market. He would have the arbitrage. He would be able to enjoy the profits. I'm talking about the 60s, the 70s, even the 50s. During my father's time, 70s, 80s, 90s, during those days, the traders were the people who really made the money, because, the internet is very new. It has just come post 2000s. Yeah, I mean, in the early 2000s. And we did not have these technologies in the 90s or in the 80s. So traders would have arbitrage. But now the whole world has changed. Now everything is so easy. So in today's day and age, the manufacturer does not earn as much as they used to. The traders are not left with that much arbitrage, which used to be there. So who are the people who are actually cornering the wealth? They are the people who own the ecosystem. We're talking about, let's say, Amazons of the world or the Meta platforms, so on and so forth. So what do I know? I know tea and coffee. That's all I know. I don't want to gamble in the market for something which I don't know. So I wanted to create an ecosystem in which I am a specialist. So that is the reason why I chose automated vending machines. Yes, the ecosystem, as you rightly pointed out, Starbucks has made an ecosystem through their own cafes. But again, very few cafe models globally have been able to make money. In India, especially, most of the brick and mortar cafe models are all unable to make profits. That is evident. So it is a capital intensive business, setting up cafes, because you've got to pay rents, you've got to pay the electricity charges, the salaries, and then people would come, they may not buy so much, and they would just leave. So the return on capital employed, as we say in financial terminology, the ROCE, is not there, at least not there in the initial 5 to 7 years, which is a very large amount of time for any company. Hence, only very large and well equity backed companies are able to enter into this business. And for me, as I mentioned earlier, business must be for profit. Whether I run my business or I run a business for someone else, I mean, the basic, that's how we've been brought up. business means profits. So that is the reason why I have not been very much attracted to the cafe model. Similarly, in the D2C businesses also, we see that we have this concept of ROAS, returns on ad spends. Now, the higher the ticket cost for a particular item, typically the ROAS is better. If you're selling a laptop for, let's say, 50,000 rupees, you would have a good ROAS. If you're selling a piece of furniture for, let's say, 2 lakh rupees, you would have a decent ROAS. But if you're selling a packet of tea for, let's say, 100 rupees or 200 rupees, you would never be able to get a very good ROAS, no matter how much you try. The performance marketing spends are so expensive. You would end up spending a lot of money on boosts, ad boosts. You would have the sales, but as soon as you stop spending, you would see your sales funnel dipping. So the stickiness in any business model should not be linked only to how much money you're pumping in. If you have to keep on pumping money, and then you still don't have profits, then that's not a business.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Those 3 generations of business acumen and blood is clearly reflecting. No, thank you so much, and very clearly explained about the cafe model and the online model for a product like tea, right? It'll work for other things, but may not work for tea.
True.
And that led you to build a point of sale where the customer experience was happening around IoT devices or IoT vending machines for tea. Just to set the context right, Cherise today manufactures these vending machines, and then it also procures the tea for doing it. Could you just talk a little bit about what happens in the background and what are the value additions that Cherise is doing as a company to make that point of sale happen?
Right. So when I entered into this business, we did a dipstick market research in several Indian cities, and we understood what is missing and why the vending industry in India is actually not as mature as its Western counterparts in the developed countries. For example, if you were to buy a cup of coffee from a vending machine in a train station in any of the German cities, you would probably end up paying 3 or 3.5 euros for a cup of coffee. And if you just walk a few meters down inside the train station, and you would see a small cafe where you see a human being making a cup of coffee, you'd pay just 2.65 or maybe a few cents lesser. Meaning what? That in countries abroad, people pay for automation. They feel that if it is automated and there is less human intervention, it is more streamlined, it is more organized, it is more systematic and more standardized, and perhaps even more hygienic. So that is the perception in most Western countries. But unfortunately, here in our country, the perception of vending machines has always been not very good. They have always been sort of looked down upon. If you enter into someone's office and they will ask you, vending machine ki chai piyenge, the initial reaction would be, nahi sir, aap pani de do. So, unfortunately, that has been the case. So this is, again, it is both a plus and a minus. I look at the plus because it's a great opportunity. You don't have too many people investing large amounts of money in this industry because the general perception is कि नहीं vending machine का धंधा नहीं चलेगा. But again, that's what Gujaratis and Marwaris are famous for, right? जो stock market में जब bottom में होता है, आप तभी उसमें पैसा डालते हो. So the vending industry in India is at that stage. That is a stock, let's say, as a analogy, that is a stock which is on a rock bottom.
Yeah, maximum opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. So this is where I found out what were the issues, why people in India, don't want to buy products or drink products from vending machines. So the answer was very evident. The quality of the machines which are available. First of all, we don't have any company in India except Cherise right now. And believe me, I say this after doing a lot of research, who manufactures its own vending machines, its own electronics and mechatronics, and also manufactures its complete range of teas, coffees, milk, and soups without any kind of outsourcing. So while we have very large companies in India in the beverage sphere who are also in the vending machine business, but they're all going to China and buying the machines and putting the sticker on it. So that is what's happened. That has been happening with, by almost all companies. So again, when this kind of a, mass outsourcing happens, you can't expect to have that level of attention to detail or quality in that product, because the person who is making the machines, they are not concerned about what's going to happen after they sell. Their job is to make and sell. That's it, finish. And the people who are buying the machines, they are beverage companies. They are not engineers, neither are they mechatronic specialists. Their job is to just buy the machine, put the stickers, and then give it to the distributors. कि भाई ये machine लो और हमारा product लो. But this is exactly why this model has not been very successful, because if you don't have the ability to track and control, as I was referring to IoT earlier being used for tracking, but actually IoT is not just for tracking, it is for tracking and controlling. Controlling at a very deep level. So if you have the ability to control the machines, then you have the ability to ensure that your machines will only accept your products and no other product. Now, when we are talking at that level of sophistication, essentially speaking, you have full control of that ecosystem, your machine, your products, and your technology, which ensures that this machine will only and only accept your products and no other product. Hence, if a machine is deployed, sales are guaranteed, or else the machine will be put somewhere else. This you cannot do in a cafe business. अगर आपने कई cafe डाला, you spent a couple of crores in setting up the cafe. अगर नहीं चला, you cannot pick up the cafe and put it somewhere else. That's a sunk cost. In case of the vending machines, these are automated cafes. You are not paying rent. If I were to, let's say, set up a machine, one of our smart machines in your office, I won't be paying rent to you. I won't be paying your electricity charges. I won't be paying salary to your office peon who is, refilling the machines. I won't even be paying for your water. All that is being paid for by the client. We are just going to give our formulation and our machine. So this ensures that we work on very controlled operating costs. Hence, we always enjoy, not only do we enjoy high gross profit margins, but we enjoy high EBITDA margins and even high PAT levels.
Parimal, if I was to connect a few things, and please correct me if I've got this wrong, and I'm connecting, things that you've said in the last 15, 20 minutes. You want to ensure that you as a company are offering the end experience to the user in consuming your product, which is beverages, predominantly tea. And you care very deeply about the quality of that experience, right? It's not just about sales, but you want to care about it.
Yes.
There could have been multiple models, but from a financial prudence perspective, you've chosen the model of IoT machines. Parimal, your video is frozen. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Can you
So,
hear me?
yes, I can hear you now. And you've chosen IoT-enabled vending machines, but you control the entire ecosystem because the machines are manufactured by you, the ingredients are manufactured by you, and hence the consumer is getting exactly the experience that you believe he should get. Unlike somewhere where some of the parts where different people control it, and the technology behind the machine allows you to keep optimizing the experience for the customer, right? So it's effectively the experience of a cafe where I'm experiencing the brand, but delivered in a far more financially efficient model of a vending machine. Is that how you?
Precise.
Okay.
Absolutely correct. And what you said is very right, Nikhil, because see, tea and coffee, our country especially, we are such die-hard lovers of tea and coffee, and we have a very high standard when it comes to teas and coffees. So this is an experiential product. It is a sensory product, meaning it only sells. You may make the first sale if you have a good-looking machine, but if you want repeat sales, you need to have a good product, a good beverage, a good taste, a consistent taste. And there are a lot of things. The entire olfactory sensory experience of the consumer has to be of that standard that he or she would really want to come back again to the machine and keep consuming those beverages. So again, this is not rocket science. Again, we are formulators. So our strengths are in creating the formulation. So the only thing that was missing was for me to be able to disseminate, to spread, to distribute my products to the masses, and that too in a manner where I retain the maximum amount of profits. So the end target was very clear. What we have to do. We already know how to make the tea blends, the coffee blends, the milk, the soup blends, and a very wide variety of even fortified beverages. But how to reach the end consumer en masse, and how to ensure that we make profits while doing so. And that is where technology helped us, really. That is where our IoT smart vending machines helped us.
Fantastic. Maybe diving into some of the other layers of the
I,
business.
I hope I was audible in the last sentence.
You were Parimal. I wanted to dive into some of the other elements of the business. For example, these machines are largely provided to B2B
Hello?
customers. Parimal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you. Please.
I wanted to move to some of the other elements of the business. So now we understand what the company does. These machines are largely provided, as I understand, to B2B customers. Some of the
Right.
largest hotel chains, corporates for their employees. Could you talk a little bit about that business and how the arrangement works with such clients?
So when we started the business, obviously as a startup, we have to be very prudent with our finances. So we would, in those days, we would either sell the machines to our distributors, and then they would lease it out to the end consumers. I mean, the end customers. We also approach the customers directly through our websites, through our social media, through our WhatsApp bot, through our call center, and our cold calling, and our lead management system. But most of the sales are done through distributors, because the distributors are already having these supply channels, and they are really very good at their job. They're very focused. Again, it's all about amplifying your reach at minimum possible cost. So we work extensively with distributors. We have more than 120 plus distributor base across India, and we try and ensure that we work on a cash and carry model basis with most of our distributors. In the earlier years, when we started the company, because we needed more and more funds to make more machines, so we would sell the machines. As we got more efficient in it, we started taking an AMC from the distributors. Now, in many cases, we give the machines for free to the distributors, because they're all our old partners since the past 5 years, and they've helped us earn money. And these are all loyal partners of our company, loyal distributors. So we give them the machines for free, and then they charge an AMC. So we have multiple models. The idea for us is to ensure that we manufacture maximum possible machines at a very efficient cost. So here, how we do is we calculate how many man hours are required to build a machine. So wherever we see that there is a potential threat to our intellectual property, for example, our machines are made using our smart PCBs, printed circuit boards. You see, every electronic device is based on the chip, the printed circuit board. That is the heart and the mind of that electronic device. So at Cherise, we design our own PCBs, and every single PCB in every single machine of Cherise is branded Cherise. So these are all highly customized mechatronic components. Then, in order to give life to those PCBs, our engineers write embedded software, which is known as firmware, and that is burnt on the PCBs. So now the PCBs, the chips, they have awareness of what to do and what not to do, and they control the entire machine. The entire ecosystem of the machine is controlled by these PCBs. And finally, there is the front end software, which communicates via our app or our dashboard to the end consumer, the end customer, where they see live data about what is going inside the machine, inventory data. All the machines have 4G SIM cards, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, RFID. They are contactless, they are voice enabled. It's a very huge, sophisticated stack of technology which we have designed. And all of these are our intellectual property. The company has filed 7 patents already so far on our vending technology. So this enables us to control this ecosystem. And it also allows us to ensure that it sort of allows us to be adventurous and aggressive. जैसे, as I said, कि हम machine free में दे सकते हैं. Very few people can actually do this, because वो machine free में देगा तो उसको ROI कैसे मिलेगा? How would they earn ROI? If I have, let's say, I've spent $100 on a machine, how do I earn my money back? Now, in our case, we can afford to do that, because we know for a fact that every single machine of Cherise, manufactured by Cherise, will only accept Cherise products and no other product. So as far as our ROCE, our ROI is concerned, we are not affected. Even when we are giving the machines for free, everything is tracked real time. Not only are they geo tracked, they also geo fenced. Even if they are moved from certain locations, they trigger alerts on our system. So, again, these are all things which are now possible in India. Let's say 7, 8, or 10 years ago, these things were not that easily available. But thanks to the growth of technology and so many new things available now, we, even a startup like us, can build these kind of machines. So our strength of creating these teas and coffees and formulations, which was always there because of my lineage, now I'm able to supply my formulations, my beverages, to so many people across the country because of this technology, because of this ecosystem. So as I said, the whole idea for building this ecosystem was to somehow make it an enabler. So we are not actually a vending machine manufacturing company. We're actually a brand. That's what we are selling. We are a beverage brand. But because we don't want to go through the same cycles of burning money like so many other startups which have to unfortunately do that, we don't want to burn money. We want to make profits month by month, quarter by quarter, year by year. Hence, we are very careful with the channels which we choose to approach the end consumer. While we want to show growth, but we want to also show profitable growth.
Understood. And I just thought it'd be helpful for people logged in to visualize what you're talking about. So just for everyone's benefit, this is how a Cherise vending machine looks like, and these are all the features that Parimal was describing. Parimal, you also, leading me to the next question, which is more around financials. And given how much you're concerned about return on capital and profitability, maybe you can also help us walk through how the last few years have been financially, both from you've had incredibly strong growth in revenue. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what's causing that, and a little bit understanding of margins and how you see them panning out in the future.
Yes, of course. This is very important. So I founded the company in 2018, November, the incorporation. Then it took us more than a year to set up, to build our factory and also the technology. So we actually inaugurated the factory for commercial operations around June 17th, 2020, if I remember correctly. And with a lot of pomp and splendor. And then in March, there was a lockdown. So it was really a very, very, very difficult and challenging time. But again, we managed to pull through those difficult years, and growth has started. Because if we see the growth graph on the left side, FY 2021, 6 crores, FY 21-22, 16 crores, FY 22-23, 36.7, 37 crores. And now we are in FY 24, where already we have crossed 55 crores. And we expect to do at least an 80 crore top line in this financial year. And this is really a proof of traction that the vision with which we had laid out this business, it's working. Even more encouraging is the fact that the growth has not come at the cost of burning. Yes, we may see some small marginal dips in EBITDA and profitability as we grow, but again, we remain profitable. And when the growth is more than 100% year on year, as we have seen over the past 3 years and now the 4th year running, to be able to deliver these kind of gross profit margins, EBITDA margins, and PAT margins is really something which shows the intrinsic strength of this particular model. Intrinsically and fundamentally, this model works. When you don't have the burn of a brick and mortar cafe, when you don't have the burn of too much advertisements and marketing costs and customer acquisition costs, then your product is going to retain its profitability, and the business and the management retains its motivation, and the investors retain their return on capital. That is really how, what sort of makes sense for everyone, I suppose.
No, I think it's very encouraging to hear that as a philosophy, and then obviously to translate into these numbers. As you think about margins in the future and sources for revenue growth, do you think that both come, largely coming out of more deployment of machines? That's the number one focus, or is there also different or other parts of your strategy that would help drive revenue growth? Parimal, was I audible?
You were for us, Nikhil.
Okay. Maybe Parimal just had a bad connection.
Yeah.
Just wait. Yeah. Okay. While Parimal joins back, I'll just use this time to maybe talk a little bit about the transaction or the investment opportunity that is available on Grip's platform. We have leased assets, which are the vending machines. So it's a sale and leaseback transaction of the vending machines that Parimal spoke about. These are all tea vending machines and deployed with large corporates for employees or for guests in hotels to use. It is a 36-month lease transaction with a total value of roughly 6 crore rupees. The total assets leased are, however, 6.8 crores, which means that investors have a nearly 120% coverage on the investment in terms of the asset value itself. In terms of security, in addition to this 120%, investors are also getting a 23.4% cash cover, which means a fixed deposit has been provided against this investment of 23% of the total transaction value, which equals to 9 months of rental payment. This is one of the incredibly robust security feature of this transaction, and not only provides you a high asset cover, but also great immediate visibility that in case of any delay, there is cash available in the hand of the trustee to be able to dip into and cover your rentals. Additional security measures include a personal promoter guarantee from Parimal, as well as insurance for all assets. This transaction.
I'm sorry, guys. Seems to be some disturbance in the internet here. I'm sorry, Nikhil. I just logged out of that, and now I'm back in.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. And I just took the opportunity to talk a little bit about the transaction. We'll come back to talk about the financials. Yeah.
My apologies. Please carry on.
No worries. This transaction has been rated BBB by a rating agency. All of these details are obviously available on the website as well. I think the last thing I want to highlight is really the repayment pattern of this transaction. So because of, like all of our lease transactions, there is a principal and interest component that is there every month. You receive a monthly return, and principal outstanding keeps reducing, which means security cover in the transaction, originally starting with 23%, keeps increasing. We believe that this transaction, from a security point of view, has ample cover, both in cash and in asset. And that is reflected in the rating and also in the returns associated with this transaction. Perfect. We'll be happy to take any questions you have. Parimal, I'll come back to you. We were talking about the future growth prospects that would drive revenue. As you think about future strategies, is it largely around new machines or additional machines, or there's another component to it?
Yeah. So again, as I was saying, the unit economics is very clear. If when anyone would go through our audited financial statements and even our projections, we are operating at between 65 to 75% gross profit margins. This is the most important. It's actually a very, very motivating factor of our business. And with this kind of a gross profit margin, and the fact that the technology locks the entire ecosystem to ensure that our products are the only products which our machines would accept and vend. Every time we deploy machines, we are able to see sticky sales without any kind of extra marketing expenses. So in a nutshell, our unit economics work in such a way. Our average costs of these machines are between 55 to 65,000 rupees. And on any given day, we are having between 150 to 175 cups of teas being vended from each vending machine.
Yeah.
So when we talk about competition, yes, we have a lot of good companies in India who are in the vending sphere. But again, the ability of vending machines, our vending machines, where the amount of control that we have on our machines remotely, a button or tap on the screen, and you take out a beverage, the 4G SIM card or the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth NFC, whichever facility is active on that machine, sends the data to our server real time, and the dashboard updates real time. Okay, by in this geolocation, this company, this cup or this beverage has been consumed with this hour, minute, and second. And then we have a lot of analytics, so we are able to understand, what are the beverage preferences of that particular pin code or geolocation. The customers, we have deployed our machines in a lot of marquee companies, organizations, a lot of Tata Group companies, a lot of banks, NBFCs, and a lot of car showrooms, all the leading car showrooms, call centers, small companies, a lot of factories, industries, MIDC areas, and close to 300 customers are there. We have multiple deployments in almost all customer locations, and almost close to 70 distributors, 70 of our national distributors have participated in this smart vending program of Cherise. So most of the deployments are done through our distributors as they have the customer base with them.
Understood. Okay. Just a few follow-on questions, Parimal, that are in the box. Is there a geographical distribution, specific focus within these 300 customers, or are they largely, completely pan-India?
We have been focusing in the metros. That's how we started the business. We started because we've got our factory in Pune. So we started with Pune and Mumbai and surrounding Maharashtra area. Then we expanded to Delhi. We set up our warehouse, our storage units there, and signed contracts with distributors in Delhi NCR area, and then East India and Calcutta. Then in Bangalore, we have a few good deployments. Hyderabad, we have just started. Goa, we have. So we have started with all the tier 1 cities first. And this is where we have the bulk of the concentration of our machines. But now it is also going in tier 2 cities, because the same distributors are getting encouraged with the work that they have done. And they are now confidently able to spread this across the network in even tier 2 cities.
Understood. Because of the fact that you have the IoT enabled machines, what happens if a person does not pay on time? What action do you take as a company? And in case the machine requires repair and maintenance, is that an expense that you bear, or does it come out of the AMC fee that you charge?
Right. So when we started the business, we were deploying these machines ourselves because distributors came a little late. So thanks to our technology, if let's say we deploy a machine in some place, and if it's a credit contract, so we have two forms of contracts, cash and carry as well as credit. If it's cash and carry, we give a concession in the per cup price. If it's credit, the price is a bit more. And if it's a credit contract, and if they, let's say they don't pay the money, we simply push a button and the machine will remotely shut down, and it will not dispense any more products. It will display a message on the screen, and WhatsApp alerts and emails will go. And if the bills are not paid, then of course we have to pull out. So thankfully, over the past 4 years, we have not had any bad debts. The only bad debts that we remember are around some 1.5 or 2 lakh rupees of bad debts which happened in during COVID from a turnover of crores. And that was also because some hotels where we had deployed had shut down during COVID, and they were unable to even restart afterwards. They just went bust. So even during the worst period that we have seen in modern human history, the coronavirus pandemic, where industries and businesses have been so badly affected, even in such a period, our company has proved to be so resilient, and we have not just made turnover growth but also made PAT positive profits, balance sheets. So the worst we have experienced the worst as I can imagine. So we are able to control the machines if someone doesn't pay. But again, as we have matured, we have stopped giving credit to end customers. We normally uh, do a cash and carry transaction with our distributors, and the distributors then further deploy the machine to the end customers. So if there is a credit which happens, it comes from our distributors, and they are the people who actually end up giving the credit to the market. And for that, obviously, they keep a margin for themselves, which is quite fair if they take the business risk.
Understood. So you basically mitigated your credit risk by working with distributors that you know very well and have
Oh,
much,
yes,
as a wholesome business. Got it.
absolutely.
And Parimal, on the second part of the question, how do you do service and how do you charge for repair and maintenance? Is there a very large support team that you require on the technology side and the physical machine side?
Again, we try and minimize the operational costs by having a core technical team. So on our dashboard, we have 4 levels of tickets which are raised in case of any kind of troubleshooting. Level 0, level 1 are all handled remotely through our call center. Level 2, the distributors, your team, which is trained by us, they go to the site and they handle the issues. And if that doesn't work, then the the last level, the fourth level, is when we pull out the machine. So level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3. These are the 4 levels which we have. In the last level, the machine is simply pulled out and replaced. Let's say if there is some very serious issue, there is a physical external damage that has happened to the machine for whatever reason, or something which is a rare phenomena. Machine would not work for whatever reason, and even the on-site engineer could not repair it. Then our team will just go and replace the machine with another machine, which is the last level. So the level 0 and 1 are handled by us, which is our call center staff, which is not very large staff, and it's all done remotely. Level 2, which is the place where people need to go on the field. In most places, our distributors go. Only in certain cases where we have direct contracts, our team members will go. So again, this is how we try and mitigate costs by leveraging our distribution network. And we are not insecure about sharing this information with our distributors, because again, the machines are fully controlled by us. I mean, it's just not possible for any distributor or anyone for that matter to use any other product on our machines. That particular lane will just lock down if the machine detects a foreign beverage, because it's all the machine is passing data real time to the server, and every single cup is mapped. So
Understood.
we leverage the distributors network, and they are even, in fact, I would like to say they are far more efficient than us because they're always on the field.
Got it. Just on the level 4 that you talked about, and also, in general, what kind of returns of machines do you see? Can you give us some ballpark number?
So the machines are returned only in 2 cases. One is if there is a serious malfunction that is, appeared in that particular model. In that case, it is brought back to the factory eventually. That is the only case in which it is actually brought back to the factory. Otherwise, if the machine is pulled out from some place, it would only be to deploy it in a more profitable place, in a, let's say, more greener pasture. For example, if let's say a distributor has deployed a machine in one office and the office said, "Ki bhaiya, we will give you 100 cups or 150 cups in a day." And that was the premise on which the machine was deployed by the distributor. But after 1 or 2 or 3 months, they see that for whatever reason, the staff strength is low, and the cuppage is, let's say, 70, 80 or 50, 60 cups, and they are not happy with that particular cuppage, and they have so many other hot leads waiting for the machines. Then naturally, we ourselves would tell the distributor that, look, this machine, the ROI is not optimum. So please pull out and please deploy there. Because if you have more cuppage, everyone wins. The distributor earns more, we earn more, and we get faster ROI for the machine. So our team monitors all this data on our dashboards. So actually speaking, the way how we built our dashboards, every machine is a P&L. Every machine is basically a profit and loss statement for us. Okay, how much we put into making it, and when are we getting this machine free, and what is the profit that this machine is making for us. The more number of cups we dispense from the machine, the faster we get the ROI. And that is what is constantly monitored. So this
I
is
think
the second case where the machine is pulled out.
Yeah, I think that angle of having the distributor play that role, which reduces your credit risk, as well as acts as effectively, he's the person on the ground. So it reduces your servicing cost. It also ensures you have a better ROI on the machine. I think is a very interesting component of your business, and then allows you to do much more, and it allows you to increase your revenue and reduce your risk.
Precisely. And also reduce your fixed operating costs, because see, when the lower your fixed operating costs and the higher your variable costs, the better the business model. You would always want to have less fixed and more variable in any FMCG business. So we always try and have, let's say if we have to spend 100 rupees as an OPEX, we try, okay, how much less percentage of this would be fixed, and how we can incentivize our, let's say, our own sales team or the distribution, the distributors to work more on variable margins. And we are not shy of giving margins because we have such a high gross profit. So we can give them margins, and that also motivates them.
Yeah, no, agreed. In the interest of time, I know we have some questions which we'll have to answer offline, but in the interest of time, I want to cover two questions that are around the investment opportunity. One, Parimal, I'll put to you, and one I'll answer. The first one is, if you have the ability, you're profitable, if you have the ability to give these machines for free, right, as part of a business model, why do you need lease finance? I think it's an interesting question. I'd love to get your perspective.
See, again, as a company, I would always want my company to be asset light, number one. So the lease idea came to us this financial year, in fact, because if you see our 31st March balance sheet, all these machines were hard assets. Whatever we had made till last financial year, they were hard assets on our financials. There was a huge depreciation. And more importantly, a huge component of our GST input was just getting piled up, because imagine we are buying components, motors, sensors, valves, all the components to build our machines, the PCBs, and all of these attract 18%, which is one of the high GST slabs. Now, if I'm not going to sell the machines, how do I use the input? There is no way. I'm only going to sell the beverages, and those sales, the ticket size would be much smaller, because the cost of a cup is, let's say, 6 rupees, 7 rupees. But the cost of a machine is 55,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees. So eventually, of course, I will be able to use that input, but it will take much more time. So as of 31st March 2023, more than 3 crore rupees for a 37 crore rupee balance sheet company in 22-23, 3 crore rupees was a GST input, which I was not able to use. And I mean, this is just money lying, your own money, which you can't use at the end of the day. So we realized that now we have made, let's say, 1,000 machines in, as of 22-23. Then we will make 3,000 machines, 5,000 machines, 10,000 machines, 100,000 machines. We can't keep on, keeping all these assets on our books. We become a very unattractive business model. And we also end up having inefficiencies in our cash flow management. Hence, the idea of operational sale and leaseback.
Understood. No, thank you for saying that. And just to add, because we have these conversations every day, I think, management of balance sheet and P&L is one of the big reasons why companies choose to have lease transactions instead of a loan transaction, and oftentimes combine a loan transaction and lease transaction for different purposes. Sometimes, oftentimes, taking a loan, and there's a question around this on the chat box, a cost of a loan from an interest perspective can seem lower than the cost of the lease. But when you add the other benefits, for example, depreciation, which acts as a tax shield, versus the lease expense, which acts as a tax shield as well, and the GST that you talked about, lease transactions can actually work out to be much more attractive for companies versus or as compared to a loan transaction. And hence, financially prudent companies have learned to manage their capital requirements as a combination of equity, loan, and lease transactions. And one of the things that, strong takeaways from this conversation is that, Parimal, you're obviously very, very focused on the financial aspect of the business as much as the customer centricity and the customer experience of the business.
Yes,
Um,
yes, it is very important because I'm the biggest investor in my business, and I first and foremost, I have to also look at my return on capital employed. So, investors' interest is foremost in any business, obviously.
Yeah, I think one of the other questions on the transaction, and I'll take this, is just was to talk about the security package. I personally believe that that's one of the most interesting attributes purely from a financial construct of this deal. So just to answer the question, this was there. There is 117% coverage from an asset, which means against payment of 100 machines, there are 117 machines that are being assigned or hypothecated to investors. The
Mhm.
second big component is the security, cash security deposit. It accounts for 9 months of lease payments. This cash or this security is in the hands of a trustee. As you know, all of these transactions are done under an instrument called SDI by GRIP, and a SEBI registered trustee is appointed to manage the transaction, creating tremendous amount of independence. The trustee has complete control over this, and in case of any kind of issues with payments, is able to dip into the security and then make sure that the payment happens. Throughout the transaction, there is no decrease in the security deposit. So the 23% security deposit remains, the amount remains as is. As you receive principal, the percentage of security cover keeps increasing and makes it even more protective for you from a deal perspective. We have also partnered with Connect Residuary, which is a leading leasing company. They've been around for 10 years. This is our second transaction with them. And this transaction is supported by Connect as the originator of this lease transaction. So that's some of the questions that we had on the box around the lease transaction. Uh, I'll take one final question, Parimal, for you, which is a follow-on to your question around both the distributor model and also future of business. Do you typically have distributors which are sole distributors, and do you generally have an order book and then make the machine, or is the machines constantly being produced and the order book is also being sourced at the same time?
We have a very huge lead funnel because you see, in so many cases where the machines are being given free, there is an unlimited supply of demand for us.
Mhm.
And in fact, we have a wait list right now as we speak of customers, and we prioritize first and foremost, we prioritize deployments based on who gives us the highest coverage. We are very clear about that philosophy. Unless there is a very large marquee customer waiting and there is a prestige value that they're adding to our business, then we would prioritize them regardless of, let's say, they may or may not meet our coverage targets. But again, first and foremost, ROI and profits. So we prioritize our deployment. So the manufacturing of machines is a continuous process. It is going on every day, every week. Sometimes we work double shifts. And in fact, we are setting up a brand new factory. Our current factory is a 1 acre campus where 217 permanent employees are working. We have a team of 42 engineers who are all uh, in charge of manufacturing and designing and manufacturing these machines. Uh, the new factory is a 1 hectare campus, which is 100,000 square feet, and approximately 24.7 crore investment is being put in. And this investment is being funded by me entirely. I'm putting in fresh equity into the company uh, to build this new factory. And this factory is going to be able to manufacture between 1,750 to up to 2,000 machines every month on a single shift, along with manufacturing close to 500 metric tons of teas, coffees, milk, and soups. So already the long-term land lease and everything is locked, and the work has started. The entire outer shell is complete, and we expect to uh, operationalize this new second plant of Cherise by somewhere around second half of June, early July 2024. It will be a fully automated plant. All the learnings that we have had over the past 5 years in our current factory, all the mistakes that we may have made. So based on that, we are now making this new factory to ensure that we extract greater efficiency from this business model.
That's fantastic, and congratulations. It's always great to hear promoters put in more skin in the game into businesses. I don't think there could be a better note at which we'll wrap up this session by hearing that you're expanding the business in such a robust manner, gives us more opportunities to partner with you, and gives us more conviction around even this transaction. Parimal, thank you. You've been generous with your time. Please enjoy your stay in Bangalore. And I'd like to also thank everyone who's joined us. Wish you all a very Merry Christmas. This is our last webinar for the year, so also wish you all a very Happy New Year and look forward to hosting the next session in the first couple of weeks of January. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you guys. Hare Krishna. Have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Investments in debt securities are subject to risks. Read all the offer-related documents carefully.